Hi, I'm Judy Jensen, and I'm a poet and a letterpress printer with Float Press. We print poetry postcards and broadsides and chapbooks. I'd like to thank Ms. Ralph for inviting poets to read for Black History Month this month, and I'd like to thank you too for inviting us into your classroom. I chose Terrance Hayes as my poet for any number of reasons. 1, he likes basketball. 2, he has a sweet tooth, especially for pie and lemon bars. 3, he likes to doodle around on the piano when no one's looking. And 4, he's quite the painter. The trivia du jour, he's one of the few poets who has appeared in the style section of the New York Times. I chose Terrance Hayes and his poem Pseudacris Crucifer because to me it reads like a hymn or a psalm or a prayer. Pseudacris Crucifer. The father begins to make the sound a tree frog makes when he comes with his son and daughter to a pail of tree frogs for sale in the deep South flea market just before the last blood of dusk. A tree frog is called a tree frog because it chirps like a bird in a tree, he tells his daughter, while her little brother, barely 4 years old, busies himself like a small blues piper with a brand new birthday harmonica. A single tree frog can sound like a sleigh bell, the father says. Several can sound like a choir of crickets. Once in high school, as I dissected a frog, the frog opened his eyes to judge its deconstruction, its disassembly, my scooping and poking at its soul. And the little girl's eyes grow wide as a tree frog's eyes. Some call it the spring peeper. In Latin, it's called Pseudacris Crucifer, false locus. Toads with falsettos, their chimes issuing below the low leaves and petals. The harmonica playing is so otherworldly, the boy blows with his eyes closed. Some tree frog species spend most every day underground. They don't know what sunlight does at dusk. They are nocturnal insectivores. No bigger than a green thumb, they are the first frogs to call in the spring. They may sound like crickets, only because they eat so many crickets. Tree frogs mostly sound like birds. The tree frog overcomes its fear of birds by singing. The harmonica playing is so bewitching. The boy gathers a crowd in a flea market in the deep South. A bird may eat a frog. A fox may eat the bird. A wolf may eat the fox. And the wolf then may carry varieties of music and cunning in its belly as it roams the countryside. A wolf hungers because it cannot feel the good in its body. The people clap and gather round with fangs and smiles. The father lifts the son to his shoulder so the boy's harmonics hover over varieties of affections, varieties of bodies, with their backs to a firmament burning and opening. You can find damn near anything in a flea market. Pets, weapons, flags, farm fresh, as well as farm spoiled, fruits and vegetables, varieties of old postcards and old photos, of lynchings dusted in the rust of the box. You can feel it on the tips of your fingers, this rust which is almost as brown as the father, and the boy on his shoulders and the girl making the sound a tree frog makes in a flea market in the deep South before the blood of dusk, just before the last blood of dusk. just before dusk. This poem is built around the rhythms of repetition and transformation. Take the tree frog. Tree frog becomes bird, sleigh bell, choir, locust, chime, cricket, and back full circle to bird. There's a single thread that draws the family through the poem. A father and his kids chirping like tree frogs. But then things turn darker, turn to an image of a dead frog opening his eyes while being dissected. The daughter opening her eyes in horror as she realizes how easily something once alive can be deconstructed, disassembled. Luckily, the boy, who is younger, is able to retain his innocence in the moment, keeping his eyes shut in the otherworldly music of the harmonica, another world where it is not dangerous to be black, to be in the center of a crowd in a flea market in the deep South, to need to be lifted upon his father's shoulders for protection. The danger is defined simply, without threat, as if in a child's book. The frog eats the cricket, the bird eats the frog, the fox the bird, the wolf the fox. And that hunger, unchecked, unexamined, has the potential to turn threatening as the boy in his music, in his blackness, draws attention. The people clap and gather round with fangs and smiles. People, affectionate or not, are physically backed into the metaphorical actual burning of racial reckoning. The poem turns darker still when it lists what can be found in the flea market. Weapons, flags, farm fresh as well as farm spoiled, a rusty old tin box with old postcards and old photos of lynchings dusted in the rust of the box. To feel the rust on your fingers, to feel black, to feel the responsibility of the safety of your young children in the deep South with the history of its bloodshed, of lynchings. Terrance Hayes is describing how tricky it is to navigate this world where in any situation, in any moment, things can turn deadly. And that last line, that emphasis, just before the dusk. That last line is particularly chilling when you take into account the history of the sundown town, which you may know from the movie Green Book or the TV series Lovecraft Country. Those sundown towns had signs that read, "Colored people must leave by sundown. Leave or face intimidation or violence." This happened not only in the South, but throughout the U.S., Colorado, Oregon, New Hampshire, Connecticut, for just a few. But no reader can ignore what it's like to be a black man in America today when, in this poem, Hayes lays it all out for us. The beauty and skill of the poem is how he does it in such a non-confrontational way. He's just a dad with his kids in a flea market, just like you and your family on any given day. But on any given day, he and his family are at risk simply because they are black. In writing this poem, it's almost as if Hayes is writing a circle of protection, a spell to shield them, using the song of the tree frog, the music of the blues, and his powerful images. If you like Terrance Hayes' poem, you can find his most recent books, American Sonnets from My Past and Future Assassin, and To Float in the Space Between, Drawings and Essays in Conversation with Etheridge Knight. Hayes' awards include the Whiting Writers Award, the Kate Tufts Discovery Award, the NAACP Image Award for Poetry, the National Book Award, and the Poetry Foundation's Pegasus Award for Poetry Criticism. He is also the recipient of the prestigious MacArthur Genius Grant. He is currently a professor at New York University. Thank you for having me. I hope that you find a poem or a poet that you truly love. And I hope too you know how lucky you are to have a teacher like Miss Rolfe, who is as funny and as talented and as big-hearted as they come. I wish I had had a Miss Rolfe when I was in high school. Now get on out there and support your local poets. I'm going to go feed my dogs. You might hear them in the background. They sound hungry.